ever heard someone proudly say, I got band 7 in IELTS, and wondered what that actually means?
All the time. People talk about band 6, band 7, and even band 8. But honestly, I don't really understand the difference.
And that's exactly why today's episode is so important. Many students spend months preparing for IELTS, but they don't fully understand how band scores work.
That's true. Most students just know they want a high score.
Exactly. If I ask a student, what band score do you need? They often answer band 7. But when I ask, what does band 7 actually mean? Many students aren't sure.
I think that's because people focus on the number rather than the meaning behind it.
That's a great observation. Today, we're going to solve that confusion once and for all. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English Chat Studio, where we help you improve your English naturally and prepare for IELTS with confidence. And if you're preparing for IELTS and wondering whether your English is good enough for your target score, you're definitely in the right place. Before we begin, if you're enjoying this IELTS podcast series, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to English Chat Studio, and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode.
So let's start with the most basic question. What exactly is an IELTS band score?
An IELTS band score is a number that shows your level of English ability. The score ranges from band 0 to band 9.
Band 0 to band 9?
That's right. Band 0 means no attempt was made. Band 9 represents an expert user of English. Most students usually aim for somewhere between band 6 and band 8, depending on their goals.
So when universities ask for a band 7 score, they're really asking for a certain level of English ability.
Exactly. But here's where many students become confused. They think the difference between band 6 and band 7 is very small.
Isn't it? It's only one number.
That's what many students think. But in reality, moving from band 6 to band 7 can require significant improvement in English skills.
Wow. I never thought about it that way.
Let me give you an example. Imagine two students taking the IELTS speaking test. The first student can answer questions, but makes frequent grammar mistakes and sometimes struggles to express ideas clearly. The second student speaks more naturally, uses a wider range of vocabulary, and makes fewer mistakes.
So even though both students can communicate, their performance levels are different.
Exactly. And that's what band scores are designed to measure. They're not just measuring whether you can speak English. They're measuring how well you can communicate.
I think that's an important distinction.
Very important. Another misconception students have is believing that band scores are based on luck.
I've heard students say things like, I hope I get lucky and get band 7.
Exactly. But IELTS doesn't work that way. Band scores are based on specific criteria. Examiners aren't guessing. They're following clear standards.
So if someone gets band 6 and another person gets band 7, there's a reason for that difference.
Absolutely. And once students understand those reasons, preparing for IELTS becomes much easier.
I think many students feel frustrated because they don't know what examiners are actually looking for.
That's true. Imagine trying to play a game without knowing the rules. You'd probably feel confused and frustrated.
Definitely.
That's exactly how many students feel about IELTS scoring. They know the score they want, but they don't understand how scores are awarded.
Which makes it harder to prepare effectively.
Correct. And there's another emotional challenge. Many students compare themselves to others. They hear that a friend got band 8 and immediately start worrying about their own abilities. Social media makes that even worse. It does. Students see success stories everywhere and sometimes forget that everyone's English journey is different.
So instead of comparing themselves to others, they should focus on understanding the scoring system.
Exactly. Because once you understand what Band 6, Band 7, and Band 8 actually mean, you can set realistic goals and create a smarter study plan.
That sounds much more productive than simply hoping for a high score.
Absolutely. Now that we've introduced the topic, it's time to discuss one of the biggest reasons students fail to reach their target band score.
And I have a feeling it's not because they're lazy.
You're right. In the next part, we're going to uncover the common mistakes students make when chasing higher band scores and why those mistakes keep them stuck for months.
So if you've ever wondered why your IELTS score isn't improving as quickly as you'd like, don't miss the next part.
Welcome back, everyone. Before the break, we talked about how many students focus on getting a high band score without actually understanding what the score means. Exactly. And that leads us to one of the biggest questions in IELTS preparation. Why do so many students stay stuck at the same band score for months?
That's a great question. I've heard students say things like, I've been studying for 6 months, but my score hasn't improved.
And that's a very common problem. The truth is that most students aren't failing because they're not working hard. They're failing because they're focusing on the wrong things.
What do you mean?
Let's imagine a student who wants Band 7 in IELTS speaking. Instead of practicing speaking every day, they spend most of their time memorizing difficult vocabulary words.
That sounds familiar. Many students believe advanced vocabulary is the secret to a high score.
Exactly. Vocabulary is important, but it's only one part of the scoring system. If you know hundreds of advanced words but can't communicate naturally, your score may not improve very much.
So students sometimes focus on one skill and ignore everything else?
That's right. IELTS is designed to evaluate overall English ability, not just vocabulary, not just grammar, not just pronunciation. It's a combination of multiple skills working together.
That makes sense. What are some other mistakes students make?
Another huge mistake is chasing a band score they don't understand.
Can you explain that?
Of course. A student says, I need Band 8. Then I ask, why? And sometimes they don't know. Maybe their university only requires Band 6.5. Maybe their immigration program requires Band 7. But they've convinced themselves that anything below Band 8 is failure.
That sounds like unnecessary pressure.
Exactly. And pressure often leads to frustration. Students start feeling disappointed even when they're making good progress.
Because they're measuring themselves against unrealistic expectations.
Correct. Another mistake is comparing scores with friends.
I think almost every student does that.
Probably. Imagine two students. One has been speaking English for 10 years. The other started learning English 2 years ago. Should they expect the same IELTS score immediately?
Probably not. Their backgrounds are completely different.
Exactly. But many students ignore that reality. They compare their results to everyone else's and start losing confidence.
Social media definitely contributes to that.
It does. You see posts like, I got Band 8.5. I achieved Band 8 in just 1 month. And suddenly, students begin questioning themselves.
Even though they don't know the full story.
Exactly. Success stories rarely show the years of effort behind the result.
That's very true.
Here's another mistake. Many students think IELTS scoring is mysterious.
Meaning?
They believe examiners randomly decide scores.
Like it's based on opinion?
Exactly. But IELTS examiners follow specific criteria. There are clear reasons why one student receives Band 6 and another receives Band 7.
So scoring isn't random.
Not at all. And once students understand those criteria, their preparation becomes much more effective.
Because they know exactly what they're trying to improve.
Precisely. Let's talk about one more mistake. Many students only focus on their weaknesses.
Isn't that a good thing?
Sometimes. But constantly focusing on weaknesses can damage motivation. For example, a student might say, "My grammar is terrible. My pronunciation is bad. My vocabulary isn't good enough."
That sounds very negative.
Exactly. Instead, they should recognize both strengths and weaknesses. Improvement happens faster when students build confidence while working on problem areas.
That's a healthier mindset.
Absolutely. Now, let's summarize the biggest mistakes. Students focus too much on vocabulary. They chase scores they don't understand. They compare themselves to others. They think IELTS scoring is random. And they become overly focused on weaknesses.
When you list them like that, it's easy to see why students get stuck.
Exactly. The good news is that every one of those mistakes can be fixed.
And I'm guessing that's what we're going to discuss next.
You're absolutely right. In the next part, I'm going to show you exactly how IELTS band scores work and what successful students do differently to move from Band 6 to Band 7 and beyond.
If you've ever wondered what examiners actually look for, don't miss the next part, because this is where everything starts becoming much clearer.
Welcome back. In the last part, we talked about the common mistakes that keep students stuck at the same band score. Now let's focus on something much more useful. What do successful IELTS students do differently?
Yes, that's what everyone wants to know. If Band 7 or Band 8 isn't about luck, then how do students actually achieve those scores?
Great question. The answer starts with understanding how IELTS band scores are awarded. Most successful students don't just study harder, they study smarter.
What does that mean?
It means they understand what examiners are looking for. Instead of randomly practicing, they focus on the skills that affect their score.
So, where should students start?
Let's go through a simple 4-step strategy. Step 1. Know your target band score. We talked about that a little earlier. Yes, but it's very important. Many students say, "I want the highest score possible." While that's understandable, it's not always practical.
Why not?
Because different goals require different scores. Some universities may require Band 6.5. Others may require Band 7. Some immigration programs have different requirements.
So, students should first find out exactly what score they need?
Exactly. Once you know your target, your preparation becomes much more focused.
What's step 2?
Step 2 is understanding the 4 IELTS skills: listening, reading, writing, speaking.
And each skill receives its own band score?
Correct. Then, those scores are combined to create your overall band score.
I think some students don't realize that.
That's true. Sometimes students only focus on speaking because they enjoy it. Others only practice reading because it feels easier. But IELTS measures all 4 skills.
So, ignoring one skill can hurt your overall result?
Exactly. Successful students create a balanced study plan. They work on all 4 areas consistently.
That sounds much smarter than spending all your time on one section.
Absolutely. Now let's move to step 3. Understand what examiners actually evaluate.
This sounds important.
It is. For example, in IELTS speaking, examiners aren't only listening to your vocabulary. They also pay attention to fluency, grammar, pronunciation, and how clearly you communicate your ideas.
So, using one difficult word won't automatically give someone Band 8?
Exactly. Many students memorize advanced vocabulary and expect a huge score increase. But IELTS doesn't work like that. Strong communication matters more than showing off difficult words.
That's probably a relief for many listeners.
I hope so. Natural English is usually more effective than forced English.
And what's the final step?
Step 4 is measuring progress instead of chasing perfection.
What do you mean?
Many students become discouraged because they focus only on their final goal. Let's say a student currently performs at Band 5.5 level and wants Band 7.
That's a common situation.
Instead of celebrating improvement, they constantly worry about the gap. They forget that moving from Band 5.5 to Band 6 is progress. Moving from Band 6 to Band 6.5 is progress. Every improvement matters.
So students should focus on getting better step by step?
Exactly. Language learning is a journey. You don't become a Band 7 or Band 8 candidate overnight.
That's encouraging.
Here's a simple example. Imagine you're learning to drive. Would you expect to become an expert driver after one lesson?
Of course not.
The same principle applies to IELTS. Every practice session helps you improve. Every mistake teaches you something new. Every week of consistent effort moves you closer to your goal.
I think many students need that reminder.
Definitely. Now, let's quickly review our strategy. Know your target score. Work on all 4 IELTS skills. Understand what examiners evaluate, and focus on progress instead of perfection.
That's a very practical system.
It is, but theory is only useful if you know how to apply it.
Which means we're about to look at some real examples.
Exactly. In the next part, we're going to compare Band 6, Band 7, and Band 8 answers, so you can actually hear the differences and understand what separates one score from another.
Now that's exciting, because I think many students know the numbers, but they've never really seen what those numbers look like in practice.
Then don't miss the next part. Once you hear these examples, IELTS band scores will make much more sense than ever before. Okay, I have to admit something. Go ahead.
When people say, this answer is Band 6, or that's a Band 8 answer, I usually just nod and pretend I understand.
You're not alone. A lot of students hear those numbers, but never actually hear the difference.
Exactly. Sometimes 2 answers sound pretty similar to me.
Then let's make it practical. Imagine the examiner asks this speaking part 1 question. What do you enjoy doing on weekends?
Sounds simple enough.
Here's an example of a typical Band 6 style answer. I usually watch movies and spend time with my friends. I like it because it's relaxing. Sometimes we go to restaurants or shopping malls.
Honestly, that doesn't sound bad.
It isn't bad. That's the important thing. Many students think Band 6 means poor English. It doesn't. A Band 6 student can communicate successfully.
Then why isn't it Band 7?
Because the answer is quite basic. The ideas are simple. The vocabulary is common. There's not much detail or development.
I see. The answer works, but it doesn't stand out.
Exactly. Now listen to a Band 7 style response. On weekends, I usually spend time with my friends or family. If the weather is nice, we often go out for coffee or visit different places around the city. I enjoy these activities because they help me relax after a busy week and give me a chance to reconnect with people I care about.
That feels more natural somehow.
That's because the speaker develops their ideas. Instead of stopping after one sentence, they explain their reasons.
It also sounds more personal.
Good observation. Now let's move to a Band 8 style answer. Weekends are usually my opportunity to recharge after a hectic week. I enjoy a mix of social and personal activities. Sometimes I'll meet friends for lunch or explore a new area of the city, while other weekends I prefer staying at home with a good book or a documentary. I think maintaining that balance helps me stay productive and avoid burnout.
Wow, that sounds much more advanced.
It does, but notice something important.
What's that?
The Band 8 answer isn't using impossible vocabulary.
You're right. I actually understood everything.
Exactly. Students often think Band 8 means using 10 difficult words in every sentence. In reality, it's about expressing ideas clearly, naturally, and confidently.
That's a huge misconception.
Let's try another example. Imagine the examiner asks, "Do you prefer studying alone or with other people?"
That's a very common IELTS question.
Here's a weaker response. "I prefer studying alone because it's better. I can focus. I don't like studying with other people."
That's very short.
And that's the problem. The examiner doesn't have much language to evaluate.
So, even if the grammar is correct, the answer is limited.
Exactly. Now, listen to this. I generally prefer studying alone because I can concentrate more effectively. When I'm by myself, I can work at my own pace without distractions. However, if I'm working on a difficult project, I sometimes enjoy studying with classmates because we can exchange ideas and help each other solve problems.
That answer feels much stronger.
And notice why. The speaker doesn't just give an answer. They explain, they compare, they add detail.
It's almost like they're having a conversation rather than giving a short response.
That's exactly what high-scoring candidates do. They don't sound like they're taking a test. They sound like they're communicating.
I think that's something many students miss. They're so focused on getting the right answer that they forget to have a natural conversation.
Absolutely. And here's something else. Many students spend months hunting for Band 8 vocabulary.
Guilty.
But if you can't explain simple ideas clearly, advanced vocabulary won't save you.
So clarity comes before complexity.
Every time. In fact, a clear, natural Band 7 answer is often better than a confusing answer filled with difficult words.
That's reassuring because it feels much more achievable.
Exactly. You don't need to sound like a professor. You need to sound like a confident English user.
These examples have actually changed how I think about band scores. Before, Band 7 and Band 8 felt mysterious. Now they feel much more realistic.
Good. Because understanding the difference is the first step toward achieving it. But knowing what a Band 7 answer sounds like is only half the battle.
Because on exam day, students still have to deal with nerves.
Exactly. And sometimes anxiety can lower a student's performance even when their English is strong.
That's something almost every IELTS student experiences.
Which is why, in the next part, we're going to talk about confidence, mindset, and how to perform at your true level during the exam instead of letting fear take control. Before we move to the final part, let's talk about something that can completely change your IELTS result, even when your English is already good. I feel like this is about the nerves again. Exactly. Confidence. Honestly, this is where many students fall apart. They know some English, but when the test starts, everything feels heavier. That is so true. And it is not always because they are weak students. Sometimes they are just too hard on themselves. Like they walk into the exam room already thinking, I'm going to fail. Yes. And once that thought enters your mind, it starts controlling the whole experience. I have seen students do that. They overthink one small mistake and then spend the rest of the test panicking about it. And that one moment can affect the next answer and the next one. And suddenly, the student is no longer speaking naturally. It becomes a mental battle, not just an English test. Exactly. That is why mindset matters so much. So, how do students stop that fear? First, they need to stop treating IELTS like a monster. A monster? Yes. Many students speak about IELTS like it is something impossible, something only genius students can pass. That is true. Some people make it sound huge and scary. But IELTS is just a test of communication. It checks how well you use English in real situations. When you say it like that, it sounds much more manageable. Because it is manageable. The problem is that fear makes it look bigger than it really is. I think a lot of students also compare themselves too much. That comparison trap is dangerous. You see someone online saying, I got band 8 in 3 weeks, and suddenly your own progress feels useless. Exactly. But their journey is not your journey.
Right. They may have studied English for years already.
Or they may have practiced in a different environment. You never see the full story behind a result.
So comparing your beginning to someone else's highlight is unfair.
Very unfair. And it kills confidence.
Then what should students compare instead?
Compare yourself to last month's version of you.
I like that.
Ask, can I speak a little more clearly now? Can I write a better introduction than before? Can I understand more when I listen?
That feels healthier too.
It is healthier, and it keeps you moving forward.
Because progress feels real when you can actually see it.
Exactly.
But what about students who freeze during the exam?
That usually happens because they expect perfection.
Meaning they think every sentence must be perfect?
Yes, and that pressure creates silence.
I've done that before in practice. I pause too long because I want the sentence to sound perfect.
And meanwhile, fluency disappears.
So what should students do instead?
They should aim for clear communication, not flawless speech.
That sounds easier said than done.
True, but it becomes easier with practice. For example, if you make a small grammar mistake during speaking, just continue.
Don't stop and panic.
Exactly. Keep talking. IELTS is not a grammar correction exercise. It is a communication test.
That is such an important reminder.
And here is a simple trick that helps many students. Before your speaking test or writing test, tell yourself, I do not need perfect English. I need clear English.
That line actually feels calming.
It is calming because it is true.
What about students who feel they are not ready?
Most students feel that way.
Really?
Yes, even strong students often think, maybe I need a little more time.
So feeling unready does not mean you are unprepared?
Exactly. Sometimes confidence does not come before the exam. Sometimes it grows because you decide to show up anyway.
That is powerful.
Another thing that helps is small wins.
Small wins?
Yes. For example, One day you speak for 1 minute without stopping. Another day you write a better conclusion. Another day you understand a full listening section more clearly.
Those small things really matter.
They do. Confidence is built from evidence. Every small success gives your brain a reason to believe, I am improving.
I think students forget to celebrate progress.
They do. They only celebrate the final band score. But confidence is built long before that,
So the journey matters too.
more than people realize.
I like this part because it feels honest. Not fake motivation, real advice.
That is the goal. IELTS is challenging, but it is not impossible. And once you stop fighting yourself mentally, your real ability starts showing up.
That makes me think the next part should be about pulling everything together.
Exactly. In the final part, we will quickly review the key lessons, make a simple action plan, and help listeners know what to do next without feeling overwhelmed.
So stay with us because the last part will turn all this information into a clear next step.
Well, we've covered a lot today.
We really have. And honestly, I feel like band scores make much more sense now.
That's good to hear because that was the goal of this episode. Not just to talk about Band 6, Band 7, and Band 8, but to understand what those numbers actually mean.
I think that's where many students get stuck. They become obsessed with the score itself.
Exactly. They focus on the destination and completely forget about the journey.
That's a great way to put it.
Think about it. If someone says, I need Band 7, that's fine. But the more important question is, what skills do you need to reach Band 7?
Because the score doesn't come first. The skills come first.
Exactly. And that's probably the biggest lesson from today's episode. Band scores are not magic numbers. They're simply a reflection of your English ability on test day.
I also liked something you said earlier. Band 6 isn't failure.
Absolutely not. Sometimes students talk about Band 6 as if it's a bad result. But in reality, a Band 6 student can communicate in English. They can express ideas, hold conversations, and understand a lot of what they hear and read.
It's just that Band 7 and Band 8 show a higher level of consistency and control.
Exactly. The difference isn't that one student knows English and the other doesn't. The difference is usually fluency, accuracy, vocabulary range, and how naturally they communicate. And that's something students can improve over time. Definitely. Nobody wakes up one morning and suddenly becomes a Band 8 speaker. Progress happens through practice.
And patience.
A lot of patience.
So, if someone is listening right now and feeling discouraged, what would you tell them?
I'd tell them this. Stop asking, why am I not Band 8 yet? Start asking, what can I improve this week?
That's a much healthier question.
It is. Because improvement feels achievable. Band scores can feel far away. But improving one skill this week, that's something you can actually do.
Maybe learn 10 useful phrases.
Exactly. Or practice speaking for 10 minutes every day.
Or write one short paragraph daily.
That's how confidence grows. Not from waiting, not from worrying, but from doing.
I think that's something every IELTS student needs to remember.
Me too. Now, before we finish, let's create a simple action plan.
Something listeners can start today?
Yes, very simple. First, find out the band score you actually need. Not the score your friend needs, not the score someone on social media got. Your score.
That's important.
Second, identify your weakest skill. Listening, reading, writing, or speaking. Be honest with yourself. Exactly. Third, spend a little time every day improving that skill. Not 5 hours once a week, just consistent practice.
Small steps add up.
They really do. And finally, stop measuring your success only by band scores. Measure it by improvement.
That's a mindset shift many students need.
Absolutely. Now, we'd love to hear from everyone listening.
Yes, let's make this interactive.
What band score are you aiming for right now?
Band 6? Band 7? Band 8?
And what do you think is your biggest challenge? Speaking, writing, listening, or reading?
Tell us in the comments.
We genuinely read your comments, and your question could be discussed in a future episode.
And if this episode helped you understand IELTS band scores a little better, don't forget to like the video.
Subscribe to English Chat Studio and share this episode with a friend who's preparing for IELTS.
It might help them more than you realize.
And now, it's time for a little preview of our next episode.
I'm excited about this one because it's a topic almost every beginner struggles with.
In episode 4, we're going to talk about the biggest mistakes IELTS beginners make.
Ooh, that's going to be useful.
We'll discuss the habits that slow students down, the preparation mistakes that waste time, and the simple changes that can make a huge difference.
Honestly, I wish someone had told me those things when I first started learning English.
Same here. And trust me, some of those mistakes are so common that you may be making them right now without even realizing it.
So don't miss the next episode.
Until then, keep practicing, keep learning, and remember,
Progress is more important than perfection.
thanks for listening.
Take care, everyone.
And we'll see you in the next episode of English Chat Studio.